Hi and welcome everyone that's joining us. It is 12:30 and you are joining us for the What's New in AT webinar series. I'm Nick Ponsford. I'm going to be helping to host this session. I'm just going to allow people to come in over the next minute or so. So just as we've got everyone buckling in to join us for this session, we'll just make sure everyone's really comfy and then we're going to kick things off pretty soon. So welcome to everyone that is in. I'm just going to give it one more moment. Thank you very much for joining us. My name's Nick Ponsford and this is the What's New in AT webinar series. And it looks like we've got lots of people signed up. I think we've got a percentage of them who will be joining us live today. So thank you very much. I'm absolutely thrilled because we'll be having a brilliant Q&A session. So I hope you get everything ready for that. Hi, Julie. So everyone is just getting ready. It looks like we've pretty much got everyone in. I'm just going to wait for it just to get to the next minute. And then we will get started to really maximize our time with you all today. Okay, so hi, good afternoon. My name's Nick Ponsford. I'm here representing Microlink Education, and this is the What's New in AT webinar series. I would like to do a bit of an introduction of everyone today. We are today joined by my colleagues from Microlink. These include Michael Buckfield, who's here to help us if you've got any product questions or queries, and also here is my wingman. We have Julie. Hi, Julie. No, Julie can hear me.
No, yeah, she can't hear nothing for some reason.
Okay, I think she's going to come back. She's going to. Michael, would you like to introduce what she's going to be doing for us?
Yeah, she's our BSO interpreter who will listen and then translate for any audience who's in the audience who hard of hearing or use BSO as a primary language. And my name is Michael, and yeah, as mentioned by Nick, and I'm a technology product specialist who's been in the field for 25 years, and I'm deaf myself as well. So nice to be here again, and thank you.
Thank you, Michael, and welcome to Julie as well. And we are also joined today by Reza. Reza is here representing a wonderful, groundbreaking product, which I will hand over to him when I've done the housekeeping to illustrate what not only the product does, what it can do for you. I would like to challenge you all to come up with some questions that we can ask Reza at the end of this. So I'm just going to do the housekeeping. So the first thing is alongside with Julie to help around accessibility, we're also using Zoom captions today. So if they're of use to you, feel free and just press the CC button and you'll get those. The comments, we've actually closed them off. We recently have had scam messages, which we don't want you bombarded with during these sessions. So you can ask questions for myself, the host, and for the participants who are speaking today in the Q&A. So please do that as we go along. You can do this while we are speaking or at the end. Also to let you know as well that the way that we'll be running this after this very short introduction by myself, Reza will be explaining what his technology can do for us all, and then we'll be having a Q&A at the end of the session. So please put your comments in. I've got a few questions as well, and Reza has also told us there will be an exclusive offer for everyone on this, so I'm really excited to hear more about that as well. So Reza, I'm going to stop sharing and hand over to you so you can introduce yourself and what you can do for us all.
Thank you, Nick, for that introduction, and thank you for Microlink for having me here. So it's such a pleasure. So I'm just going to share my screen. So just bear with a second as I get my screen in order. So I'm the founder of Technology, and we're the publisher of Assistive Tech and EdTech Solutions. And the solution tool I'm talking to you today about is inspiration. So in terms of what inspiration is, it's a visual thinking tool. It's a tool that allows users to create these diagrams that can represent knowledge, information, ideas in a graphical format. So it's quite commonly used to create mind maps, concept maps, ideas maps, and outlines. So it's a very flexible, versatile tool. And we do tend to talk about inspiration as a lifetime tool. It's used in education, it's used in the workplace, and it's used personally, particularly in later stages of life now, with those users with dementia, Alzheimer's, where there are memory challenges and cognitive challenges as well. So it is a tool that's used throughout. It's a tool that's really beneficial to those users with neurodifferences and cognitive challenges, such as dyslexia, ADHD, autism. And what I'll be doing today, as well as giving you an explanation of what inspiration is, we'll be sharing some case studies. So some users that will be talking about it and some specialist teachers that will explain in terms of how they work with inspiration to help their clients. But also what I'll do is I'll do a demonstration. So there'll be a couple of demonstrations that I'll do to effectively demonstrate how these users are using the software in their particular contexts. So inspiration is a very flexible environment. It has three key environments. And the beauty of that is it allows the user to be able to use an environment that's best suited to their thinking style. It gives them that choice. Now, the first environment is the diagram view. So the diagram view is this free-form, highly customizable environment. It allows you to be able to capture and project your ideas exactly as how you want it. You can put those symbols wherever you want, and those symbols represent each of one of your ideas. You can link those symbols in any which way that you want. You can place those symbols where you want it. There's no structure, there's no snap to grid. You can create these and form these maps exactly as how you want it. Now, on the left-hand side, in the top left-hand corner, is a simple ideas map. But on the right-hand side is a concept map. So concept maps are something that inspiration really excels at. And the reason inspiration is so popular is the fact that you can create these diagrams simply and very quickly. You don't need to be a creative artist. You don't need to be an expert in graphic design. Inspiration makes it easy to be able to produce these diagrams very quickly. And the key part of that is to make sure cognitive load remains very minimal. So you're focused on the thinking process and the critical thinking process, not in terms of how I need to construct this diagram. So this concept map is a great tool for capturing knowledge. It's also a great tool for educators and those that are trainers in terms of being able to communicate knowledge, to instruct others, particularly when it comes to complex ideas and concepts, because it may be a topic that you're covering, which is tricky to speak about verbally or to provide in a set of notes. But with using visual maps, such as concept maps, you can basically take complex ideas and represent them simply using one of these diagrams. And quite a complex idea can be summarized on a single page. And the thing is with these maps, and inspiration tends to be quite synonymous with that, is that there's this whole dual coding approach. So as you've got the keywords or phrases to explain each idea, but what we're a keen advocate is using visual cues, such as color to help categorize information, and more powerfully, images, because for most of us, we think in images. You know, when we capture and acquire knowledge, we tend to associate an image with that. And visual mnemonics is a great way of being able to retain information as well. So one, you're producing these really engaging diagrams because they're colorful, they're image rich, that the whole process of constructing it and the fact that they've got the visuals helps to retain that information, helps in terms of deeper understanding. But just glancing at it, immediately you've got a gist of what this topic is about and how different ideas connect to one another much more quickly and simply than, say, a page of notes or text, for example. And it's quite often a tool that's used within schools, universities, for example, to support the universal design of learning, where, say, for example, you may have students that are quite happy dealing with text, but you've got other students that, say, for example, with dyslexia, who might be more visual, where they prefer to synthesize, synthesize information in a visual way. And you'll see how inspiration can construct these different types of content suited to the learning preferences and the thinking preferences of the different students. So that's one view, the diagram view. The other view is the map view. So this is a dedicated mind map environment. So if you want to create a mind map, this is the fastest way to do it within Inspiration. This is much more of a hierarchical structure. So the other one is very free flow, free form. This one, you have a ready-made structure that you hang your ideas off. And with a traditional mind map, you have your central idea in the middle, and then you have these branches coming off it. And as you go deeper and deeper into the topic area, it becomes, you get these deeper and deeper branches into it. And the main premise of a mind map is that as you get deeper and deeper into it, you always have one parent topic above it to give you a nice, clean, structured map of your thinking. It does, with this ready-made structure, it gives you a quick ready-made structure to get your ideas down, to hang your ideas off as well. And so these are examples of different maps. The business plan is one of our example templates. We have over 150 templates within Inspiration. They're organized in different curriculum areas, such as English, for example, humanities, science. Then we've got some general thinking skills templates that are in there, as well as workplace templates as well. And as I said, this is to support this whole lifetime use of Inspiration as an assistive tech solution, as well as something that anyone can use. Now, something that's unique to Inspiration is that essentially we have this third view, the outline view, and this is a fully integrated outlining tool. So whilst you might prefer to work visually, simultaneously and at the same time, it's producing a written outline, a clear hierarchical structure of your main ideas and supporting ideas. And so what it's doing is it's simultaneously and in sync producing this writing framework for you. So particularly in education, it's a great way then of being able to scaffold the writing process. The visual view is a real great way of being able to chunk and encode information, but simultaneously and at the same time, it is producing a written outline. And so at any point in time, and I'll show you that, you can go back and forth between that. So as you work visually, you can see how your writing is progressing, the structure, the direction that it's going into, and you can work in either one of those environments. And as I said earlier, each environment, is suited to the thinking style of the user. Some will prefer, say, the diagram view, or they'll purely work in the map view. Some will interchange between them based on their preferences in the project. We do have lots of users that start off in the outline view. They like to work in a list, so they'll create their list and then go over to the diagram view and produce a diagram for it. So you can work in multiple different ways within Inspiration. And as I said, from a practitioner's perspective, it allows you to produce content both in a visual format and a written format as well for versatility and for the accessibility of those learners that you're working with. Now, Inspiration is a tool that can be used by anyone. So we have lots of users that use it. They buy it personally, they buy it for business, they buy it for education. They don't necessarily have a neurodifference or a cognitive challenge, but it is particularly useful for those users with those particular needs in terms of dyslexia, autism, ADHD, dyscalculia. We have lots of user needs which Inspiration can help. So these are the 5 key areas where Inspiration particularly has benefits to these types of users. One is ideas generation. So I talked about templates. We have over 150. What we call them the starter templates. So the idea being is you might have lots of ideas in your head, but you don't know where to start. So the starter templates are there to be able to help create that initial structure, that organization for you to be able to think about the big ideas first and narrow down on that rather than feeling overwhelmed. But the other tool that we have, which we're really proud of, is our rapid fire tool. And this is a tool that's unique to Inspiration. It's a great way of just quickly throwing your ideas out onto the page. It's great for those users with working memory challenges, for those users that are prone to forgetfulness and they need to get those ideas out. So that's ideas generation. The other thing is retaining information. Often Inspiration is recommended for that. One, the whole process of creating a diagram helps in terms of retaining information, not just because of the visual look of it. It's more likely, you know, it tends to be that pictures, photographs, diagrams are things that are more in tune with how our brains tend to be able to remember things. But also the fact that as you construct these diagrams, and as I'll show it to you, you are encouraging those critical thinking skills, those deeper approaches to understanding more meaningful learning. And just having that meaningful learning through using Inspiration helps to move that information from your short-term to your long-term memory. Note-taking and writing is another area where Inspiration is regularly recommended for. So for those users that struggle with putting pen to paper, that might, in school, that might be creating an essay, or it be at work, writing a report. Inspiration provides that alternative canvas, that way in which you can capture those ideas and with the tools within there, scaffold into the writing process, as I showed you with the outline view. The other aspect is organizing thoughts and ideas. Inspiration is great at being able to capture those ideas. We have lots of case studies, and I'll show you one a bit later on, which is Simon, who had a brain injury after a stroke. He describes about, the thoughts in his head all just being jiggled. He couldn't make a structure in his mind of how these ideas should be structured and connected. And quite often we hear about this from those with dyslexia, dyspraxia, for example, where they just say the same. So they use Inspiration of just spilling out those ideas onto the page. And once they've got it out on the page, they can see those ideas and then start to create that structure for them. And understanding complex concepts is another key area where Inspiration can help, particularly that diagram view. The flexibility of that allows you to take a complex topic and diagrammatically represent that in a simple format for someone to be able to comprehend and synthesize, someone else or yourself, in terms of capturing your knowledge. That example of the DNA process isn't, a perfect example, and I'll show you one at the end as well, where Inspiration has certainly helped with giving instruction to others on a complex case. Okay, so we're going to share with you some case studies. Now, I'm just going to make sure I've got my audio on. So let me just, got it on. So I'm going to show you a case study, which is Helen Simon. So she's a specialist education teacher, and works with those students with SEN. And so she will be talking about how Inspiration can help these particular students and her and her team in terms of supporting these students.
Yeah, my name is Helen Simon. I'm an SEN advisory teacher with specific interest in working with children with challenges in education. I don't like to say difficulties, but challenges, which can be anything from a physical challenge, a mental challenge. I work with children with hearing, sight, and brain injury challenges, and work with children with dyslexia and dyspraxia. So it's right across the board. My thing is to try and get assistive technology into the classroom to support those children. So the challenges are less noticeable, that they can work on a level playing field with their peers. And I'm a great believer in what you try and teach a child through assistive technology, they can take with them into adulthood. So most of the technology I use, I call future-proof it. So it enables children to have something for life. Like you teach them to write with a pen. In many cases, some of the children I work with will never write with a pen, but they can use their voice or their eyes or a keyboard, and it has exactly the same powerful message. It's a route to communication and enables them to learn lifelong learning skills. What's been really interesting, I've got inspiration into primary schools, which has been really, really interesting. And I've got two students, both with acquired brain injury, with co issues with dyslexia and dyspraxia and other issues, and particularly autism. And the mind mapping in primary school works very well because it fits in very well with their curriculum. I've given it to the teachers to have on their system, and they actually use the mind map as a whole class activity. So it's worked really well with the student who it's designed for, and so as the whole class is working on that mind map, it's been brilliant because they all feel included, the student feels included, and the staff love it. And when the child moves up into the next year, they say, well, can we keep it? But no, as a class tool as well as an individual tool, it works for it. So I think having it as early as possible really works well. And certainly from about year 3, year 4 upwards, those mind maps have really supported some children with some quite severe challenges. And then also before they go to secondary school in year 6, it's worked really well, particularly when you've got children with a big therapy team around them, and all the therapists can then feed into that mind map, and all the therapists can work together, and the children and the parents all know what's coming next and what's happening.
Okay, so that is our first case study. Now, I apologise, I've realised I've shared the wrong screen, so I'm showing you the presenter's view. So I'm just going to stop sharing and actually put on the full screen. So just bear a second, and it's screen 2. Right. Okay. No, I think it's still been the wrong one. Just bear a second.
No problem while you get yourself sorted. Just to remind everyone, if you want to put questions or comments in the Q&A, please do. Keep them coming and we can go through them at the end. You right now, Reza?
I think so. I think
Okay.
I'm showing the right one. Yes. So
Okay.
There we go. Right. Oh, right. There we go. Right. Apologies for that slight interruption there. So, okay. So this is an example that Helen shared with me with one of the students that she works with. So this student has autism. So with inspiration, as in terms of ages, for independent use, we recommend from ages 9+, but quite often it's used by practitioners from, you know, kids as young as in primary school. So years 4, 3, 4 onwards, for example. And so in this example, this is a map that's been created in conjunction with this student to basically plan their week. So this is using the map view. And as you can see, it's a very simple diagrammatic example of the child's week, their schedule, which is easy for them to have easy access to, and also to be able to quickly comprehend. And so this has been built using inspiration. And as you can see, we've got the days, branches organized into days: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And each day, each branch represent a key thing that they need to do. And the checklist feature is enabled. So what the child can do is they can tick off the things that they have accomplished. And so with this in hand, they are able to keep track. And for this particular child, they were suffering from anxiety. They needed a clear view in terms of the structures of each day. So this was something that they could always rely on and come back to, just to ensure they were on track in terms of what they needed to do and the task that they needed to complete. Okay, I'm going to go now on to another case study. So this is a student at university. And so they will be talking about inspiration, how it has helped them. They have dyslexia and they had challenges in terms of writing. Actually, no, that's not the case study. This one coming up, sorry, is Simon. And so this is Simon, again, a student at university. And he had a stroke, and the result of that was brain injuries. And because of that, he had significant memory issues. So inspiration was recommended to him. So essentially, he could use inspiration to help in terms of mapping out his ideas and helping to retain that information.
My name's Amy Hayes, and I'm 26, and I was introduced to inspiration. My name's Amy Hayes.
Apologies, sorry, I seem to have got my sequencing wrong on my slides. Let me just come out of this.
No problem at all.
There we go.
There you go.
Right.
Okay.
Let's come back to it.
My name's Amy Hayes, and I'm 26, and I was introduced to inspiration when I was at university.
There seems to be a problem with this video. We're going to skip Simon. We're going to go on to Amy. This is the one I originally said. So Amy had issues with challenge was dyslexia and challenges in terms of writing. So let's hear what Amy has to say in terms of how inspiration has helped her.
So I used it for a few different types of things. So most of my work was assignment based, so essays. I did use it for just like even just taking notes from scientific journals. There's a lot of text there, lots of confusing words. It's not written in the most friendly language. So I could kind of use that. I could use like the title of the journal in the middle, and then go from there, so that I always had that reference point to go back and find it later. But for essays, I found it particularly helpful just because I could expand so much and hide like the notes. I could kind of do a bubble and then do my notes to go along with it. So I could already expanded on it. And it actually took a lot of legwork out of actually writing the essay because of that. And I didn't realise that until I actually used the outline view. And the excitement was unreal. Because I'd enjoyed using the program itself, but essay writing I'd never enjoyed. So it was more sort of filling in gaps and making things link properly and be in proper English. So it was definitely better for me for essays because that was most of my work. But I did use it for even just basic planning, like, right, I've got this assignment. Sometimes I'd get 3 or 4 in a day and all different deadlines. And then I could use it to organise what I needed to focus on first. If I found that I was a bit overloaded on one topic, I then knew which one I could go to next to have a break from one, and so on. So it made it much easier for me, because it's when you do essays, there's a lot you've got to get in, and you end up spending so many hours sort of going through things that later you kind of go, do I need this? And this meant, using inspiration, it meant that I was always on track.
Okay, so that's Amy. So what I'm going to do now is to explain how these users are using inspiration. I'm going to do a live demo. So I'm just going to switch over to inspiration and talk through how we use inspiration. So just bear a second. Right. Okay, so let's share my screen again. Okay, so hopefully you can see my screen. So this is the diagram view of inspiration. So this is our totally customizable free-form environment. And so what I'm going to do is do the process of making a cup of tea. And so with this, what I'll do is just talk you through the features that I'm using, and we're going to construct a diagram. Now, I've got this project here. I just would simply click in and I'll type in my title. Now, I'm just going to go over to the outline view because I just want to show you how this develops as I map my ideas visually. So, okay, so first of all, if I want to start capturing some ideas, I could just simply click anywhere and start typing. So if I'm looking at making a cup of tea, the first thing I might want to look at is the ingredients. Just type, press enter, it'll create a symbol and it will have a keyword or phrase, whichever I typed, to explain that idea. There, I'll zoom in a bit. There is a red underline, so it does identify miscues. I can right click on that and choose the appropriate word from the suggested words. Now, I can then start to show those relationships using the link tool. So I'm going to show that connection there. Now, with ingredients, I could just do the same again, but what I want to show to you is the rapid fire tool. So here I can click on this and I can do it, turn it on, have a little thunderbolt appear. Now, users will talk about essentially how this is a great tool just to spill those ideas out. So I'm just going to use the rapid fire tool. All I need to do is type, press enter, type, press enter, and you'll see my ideas start to form. So ingredients, so tea bags, hot water, milk, sugar. So all I've been doing is typing and pressing enter. And as you can see, it's created a symbol for each one of those keywords or phrases. That represents each idea. I've got another spelling mistake there, so I'll correct that as well. And as you can see, it's totally flexible where I place these ideas. And for a lot of our users, this is really important. They want to produce the diagrams exactly as how they want it presented to themselves and to others. Now, I can then start to expand on this. Let's look at other areas. So I could use the create tool here as well. So use the create tool, and on here, I'll look at process. Do it here. And I'll look at equipment. Now, as well as using the create tool or just typing and pressing enter, I've got this symbols library here. Over 3,500 different images and symbols, all organized into different topic and categories. And I can create my own symbols libraries and import my own images as well. So, but I can also search for stuff. So in here, maybe I'll search for a kettle. Got one here, I can bring that in. And I can link that up. Let's go to the outline view. So I'm in the outline view and you can see it's now at the same time generating my outline for me. We'll expand on this one. So I could just click elsewhere and hold the control key and it will create a symbol and automatically link it as well. So you'll find there's lots of different ways of being able to build your map up. There's also lots of different keyboard shortcuts, which is also great in terms of productivity and speeding things up. But also if you're a Dragon user, it really helps in terms of being able to use inspiration keyboardless, because you can use Dragon commands with these keyboard shortcuts to build up your diagram. So we've got kettle, teaspoon, and mug. So I'm starting to bring in some visual cues. So I've got my kettle there to represent that idea. I want to use color because color is a great way of being able to categorize information. It helps to add more meaning. Color does. to the map itself. It helps you to navigate and see common patterns. So down here, I can add some color to my diagram. Let's go to here and process. Now I'm going to do rapid fire tool this time. I'm going to set this to be the default. And I'm going to do rapid fire, but I'm going to do it without links. So without links is perhaps where you just want to brainstorm some ideas, but you don't know yet how they should connect to one another, what the relationships are. So let's look at it, or the sequence. So boil kettle, or hot water, or milk into mug. You see the difference here, there is no links. So it's a quick way of just capturing it. And then when I look at it, I can then start to create those links afterwards. I'll put that there. So the different way of, rather than using the link tool, there's these little diamond anchors. I just hover over it, automatically turns on the link tool, and I can show that relationship there as well. Go down to here, just bring in some more visual cues. Again, this will just make it more engaging. Again, it's those visual mnemonics that will help you in terms of memory recall as well. Just drag that in. You can just drag and drop images from your desktop into it, so you can import your own images in. As well as the symbols that are in the symbols library. I'll zoom in a bit so you can see. Now, I tend to be quite free flow. That's the way I prefer it, but I can get inspiration to do this for me. I can use the arrange tool. So within here, I can have a tree. I could choose a web, for example, as one approach. Let's do the tree. So there are lots of ways, and you can get inspiration to do the organization for you. I'll stick with how I tend to represent it. I tend to say, for example, do it free flow, but I might use the arrange tool when I'm sharing it with others, where perhaps it would be easier for them to be able to navigate if it's got more of a different structure to it, like a tree structure, for example. Now, with inspiration, we're about sort of chunking the process. So we're chunking down this topic into discrete areas. We're encoding that, and we're adding some visual cues to help in terms of categorization, organization, and to add extra meaning. But to scaffold the writing process, we have some tools within inspiration. So one of it is explaining the relationship between one idea and another. Quite a simple concept, but very powerful when you're creating concept maps as well, and very important to that methodology. So, for example, I could click on any link and I could label it with anything I like. Now, what we encourage is to use links, the labels for the links, to explain why you think one idea is connected to another. One, it's encouraging that critical thinking, why you think there's a relationship between these two ideas. Through that process, you might change your mind and say, no, actually, they don't connect to one another. But I'm going to right click and I can choose some suggested words. We have a ready-made bank of link phrases and causes, contains, so general terms for explaining relationships. But if I go to more link phrases, there are scientific and mathematical terms to explain why one idea is connected to another. And so ingredients, it does depend on hot water, sugar. So I'm just going to randomly just choose some words to explain why I think one idea is connected to another. This is also great from an instructional perspective. So again, adding extra information to the maps that you might be presenting to your students to explain complex ideas, but also an assessment piece. So you can get your students to create a map and then also to add these link phrases to explain why they think one idea is connected to another. Again, it's exemplifying their knowledge, but also if they get it wrong, you've got more of an idea of their misunderstanding, their miscues. Now, if I go to the outline view and I turn on here the link phrases, they will appear in here as well, because they can add to the writing process, and you can see the connections in the outline view as well. I can also, if I turn this on, show the symbols and images and the colors in my outline view as well. So if that is important to me, it is shown within the outline view. So I have got, as well as the writing framework, those visual connections as well. Go back here and we'll continue to scaffold this writing process. So I'm going to go to Milk. Up here, got notes. So I'm going to add some notes. So each note can have up to 8 A4 pages. The idea being is the symbol, use a keyword or phrase to summarize each idea succinctly, and then use the notes to expand on those ideas. For Milk, I always pour it afterwards. Others do it beforehand. I think this is wrong. So each one of these I can add a note to. 100 degrees C is the optimal temperature for black leaf tea. Just an add more. If using leaves, would need a teapot and tea strainer. So what we're doing is we're scaffolding the writing process. We're adding more detail to our maps. Let's go to here and you'll see the notes start to appear within here as well. We can hide and show it, so we can chunk the process to reduce overload and overwhelm if there's a lot of text here, and too much text may overload the end user. So they can collapse sections and just focus on a section at a time. And they can work within here as well. Pour hot water into mug and add some notes to it. Pour carefully. I can move things around. So I'm going to move it up there, for example, because it makes sense from a writing perspective for that to be there at the top. But as I'm making some edits within here, at the same time, it will make those adaptations in here. So pour hot water into mug, and that note now appears in here as well. So you can work in one environment or the other, and they'll stay in perfect synchronization with one another. So we've got our process of making a cup of tea. I'm quite happy with this. Perhaps I want, I'm someone that would like to have things read back to me, because that's my way of being able to prove, or it's my way of being able to better comprehend information. So there is a built-in listen tool within here. So if I click on here,
boil kettle,
and hopefully it's coming through.
Process. Pour milk into mug.
So Inspiration does have built-in text-to-speech. You don't need other assistive tech, but it will work with other text-to-speech software as well. And that feature will work within the outline view as well to have things read back. When I'm happy, perhaps now I want to create a set of slides, for example. So I can go into here, go to presentation, choose my theme. how many containers, whether I want speakers notes, title slide, do okay. And within Inspiration, you can create presentations as well. So you're gathering up all of your knowledge, you're organizing it and structuring it, you've scaffolded the writing process, and now it becomes a productivity tool for those final outputs. So it will create a title slide, it will create a contents page, it will create a slide for each main topic, and also it will take snapshots of each key part of my diagram, which I can use then to help myself in terms of conveying meaning to my audience. It will support the points that I'm making, but also to myself as a presenter, because these visual cues that I'm dropping in also can aid me in terms of remembering what I need to present. And then when I'm finished, I can then either export that as a PDF file or export it as a PowerPoint presentation. Then if that opens up, and there we have it, making a cup of tea with the slides there. And this is all fully editable within PowerPoint. So even if you don't have PowerPoint, you can create PowerPoint presentations within Inspiration and output as a PowerPoint set of slides as well. So another use of Inspiration, let's go to another use, is essay writing, which Amy was talking about. So this is a diagram, using again the diagram view to be able to create a visual map and to create that initial plan. And so using the same process that I showed you in terms of building that cup of tea, I've got my main idea here, the main topic: should university education be free in the UK? I've got my introduction, and basically what I've done is I've got a symbol for each key section of my essay: introduction, the debate for, the debate against, and the conclusion. What I've also done to help in terms of, I guess, providing those targets and the direction of travel that I need to go into, I've added the word count to each one of these sections as well. Then within here, I can add some notes, which I, again, same process as I did before. The essay question, which is, should university education be free in the UK, and my total count. Then I would start to then expand on this. And so this is a typical process that Amy would have gone through. So introduction, 200 words, would have added in some, basically those main topic areas that I want to explore. So looking at the history, the political landscape, and my thesis statement. As you can see, I've got a link between these two symbols to show the rich relationships between these different ideas. Now, with the conclusion, now, normally when you are essay writing and you start at the beginning, you've already got a gist in terms of what you want to write about, because either, you know, you've done some research, for example, or, you know, there's been some instruction by your teacher, for example. And so there is some form of an idea. So we do suggest that actually you start to jot those ideas right at the beginning. So you start to summarize what you think should be in the conclusion. And so I would then start to obviously add those points in, even though it's right at the beginning. And the usefulness of that is, one, you've captured it so you don't forget it. Secondly, it's given you, again, that trajectory of travel. What are you aiming to achieve? What is it in my main body that I am trying to effectively argue and provide examples for, etc. So we do suggest, you know, starting to summarize your conclusion at the beginning, just some keywords or phrases so that you've got that target to aim for. And then you would then start on your body. So looking at your for, jotting down those different ideas, the ideas that you want to talk about and against. And so here in my outline, I've got now my hierarchical structure that I'm working with, and I can start to work within here, add my notes. So my notes are effectively my paragraphs, adding in my ideas. add some notes here. Discuss the economy. But I could also work within here as well. Add some more notes. If, say, I was in a hurry, for example, I could add audio notes. So I just quickly want to verbalize my ideas. That's the quickest way of doing it. So let's do the called sound, turn that on. So if I'm in a hurry or I'm prone to forgetfulness, I can use the audio notes. Each audio note is 60 seconds to encourage me to be succinct in my explanation. So I'm doing a quick recording, do stop, save. You'll see then a quick control appear here to say that there's an audio note appearing. So there it is. So if I'm in a hurry or I'm prone to forgetfulness, I can use the audio notes. And then I could then add a note to it, for example, and then transcribe what I've done in my audio note, for example. If I've got references or source material that I want to capture, I've got this citation collection tool within here. And so within here, I can add my source material. So you could either write it, obviously, if expected, the referencing style that's required. I'm just going to just free type some stuff in. And if I wanted to, I could hyperlink each one of these references to the original source material. It could be a file, it could be a website. So it's an easy way to get back to that original material. And then when I go back to my diagram, you can see now it's generated a bibliography. So it makes it easy to be able to, capture all of that source material as you're building up your project, and then it will summarize it at the end in alphabetical order using the bibliography. When I'm ready, so in the last example, I exported it to PowerPoint. So now I'm going to take it over to Word. So Nick, I'm almost finished. So let's take it over to Word, do transfer. I've got lots of different options as to what I want to transfer across. If I wanted to take it to Google Docs or OneNote, I could do transfer to clipboard, but I'm just going to take it over to Word, just show you the output. And there we've got it in Word. Because we have style headings, you can use the outlining features within Inspiration. They effectively, what we're producing is highly accessible documents that are ideal for screen readers to pick up on and text-to-speech software. And we can use the outlining features within Word as well to be able to navigate through the document. Inspiration can deal with a lot of text. We have a lot of writers that use Inspiration. So 10,000 words, no problem at all. 25,000 words for a PhD, no problem at all. We have writers that are doing between 100 to 200,000 words within Inspiration. Again, no problem at all. So it's a great tool for helping those users who are on that writing journey. Okay, so that's as much as I was going to show you in terms of Inspiration. Hopefully that's exemplified how the software has been used, and effectively, hopefully you can connect that with those two case studies that I showed you, one from Helen and one from Amy, in terms of how they use Inspiration. So time, I guess, now to wrap up and the Q&A. But just before, I guess, just to Nick spoke about that offer that we've got. So for attending this session, and if you haven't got a license, we are offering a free license of Inspiration for assessment, training and demonstration purposes. So if you are interested, after this webinar, in the post-webinar follow-up, we'll be providing a link to Microlink to circulate to you guys, where you just need to complete a quick form. And what we'll then do is get that license registered and emailed across to you, so you can try Inspiration for yourself and see how it can be used within your working or learning environment. So thank you all for watching.
Thank you so much for that in-depth, informative, insightful and inspirational presentation. I would also like to take you up on that license offer. It looks amazing. And I also want to say thank you to everyone who has listened. I'm sure there's lots of other things whirling through your mind, particularly knowing that you will get access to this as well as being part of this. So Reza, thank you for your generosity with that as well. We have got a couple of questions that I'd like to go through. So Reza, hold on to your hat. So we've got one here from Warren. Thank you, Warren, who says, you mentioned it has 150 preloaded templates. Are users able to develop their own templates, which they can reuse and share templates with other users?
Yes, there is. There is actually a template wizard. So once you've created a diagram, you can use the template wizard to effectively turn it into a template that will appear in the templates area, and which you could then deploy to other users as well. So, and we do, with all of these features, we have lots of different how-to videos on how to do that.
Amazing. And where can people find all this information? What's the website?
So it's inspiration-at.com. So you can see on that visual there that you've shared, that's our homepage. So if you go to the support area, there's a resource section and a training section. We've got pretty much, there's over 70 different tutorial videos on using Inspiration, and on-demand videos in terms of how you use it for mind mapping, writing strategies, outlining. So, and for any user, we do provide uncapped training support, one-to-one training support. So you can just book a session with us, 20 minutes, and we can go over certain features with you. And yeah, there's no limit to that.
That's amazing. And I would really encourage, if you are thinking of doing this, to take up Inspiration on that offer. Obviously, the more sort of help you can have with understanding it, onboarding. I know that Reza was very thorough in a way that he showed that it could work for both your students and your staff and yourselves as well. But I think it's always helpful if you need that more insight to get it. So we've got another question from Karen. She says schools are increasingly using Chromebooks. I'm familiar with the brilliance, hooray, of Inspiration, but is there a version that is effective, sort of not watered down in terms of its functionality, but can be purchased for Chromebooks that maybe operate on an app basis?
So we do have a solution for Chromebooks and Macs, which is called Inspiration RD, which effectively you access the full features of Inspiration 10 via web browser. Now, it's more of an expensive solution. So our Windows solution is our most cost-effective solution, particularly for organizations. And with the Inspiration RD solution, it's a subscription plan. We tend to say it's more of an intervention software in those circumstances because of the price, to be honest. So, you know, for someone, you know, for per user, I think it's £99 per year for each student. So it's not a solution you would roll out en masse for, you know, a Chromebook school. It would be for those specific students that you think, yeah, they're struggling, they need help. And so we provide that, and we provide full training in terms of using it on that platform.
Thank you. We've also got one, Mark has actually got two parts of it. We'll be able to claim a free license of Inspiration 10 for Windows by attending this. I think you've already answered that.
Yes, yeah, definitely. So I thought it was a trick question. So
no.
yeah, I thought I'd said that already. Yes.
I was just making sure it was the right version that we're offering, just so we're clear. And can I use Inspiration 10 on both Windows 10 and iPad? Can I transfer work from one to the other and continue working?
Yes, you can. So in Inspiration 10, the files are designed to exchange with one another. They're sister products, effectively. You just go to File, and then there's an export to Inspiration Maps. And then an Inspiration Maps file can just be in, basically, just double click on Inspiration Maps file, and Inspiration 10 will open it up on a desktop computer.
Great, thank you. I think I've answered what Karen's asked as well. Jill Hooker said, thank you, what a fabulous tool. Really looking forward to giving my positive feedback, then experimenting, that's what it's all about, isn't it? Seeing and sharing what Inspiration has to offer. I'm just being asked again, will the license allow me to use both Windows 10 and the iPad together? I think it's a free license that you're talking about, Reza.
So in terms of the free license, you can claim both. You can get both of those. And you can also trial Inspiration RD if that's something that you want to look at. We do recommend, particularly schools, trial Inspiration RD because of the investment on that side. For But in terms of purchasing, you do have to buy them separately. So Inspiration Maps is on the App Store. Inspiration 10 you either buy via Microlink as one of our approved partners. And so certainly, yeah, we would recommend buying it from Microlink, the Windows side.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, seeing that we are close up on our time, and just to make sure that everyone can go off and do everything else they wanted to do this afternoon, all inspired, just to reiterate that we will be sharing information following this session so you can access that incredible offer. In the meantime, I would suggest you go on the website, see what the Inspiration Gang have to offer you to get to know them a little bit more, and maybe chuck them some follows on social media. Just want to say thank you for everyone who's joined us today, from you as participants. Reza, thank you so much. Michael and Julie and everyone at Microlink, we just want to say thank you so much. Have an inspirational afternoon. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.